Okay, this is going to get really ugly now. We're going to do number 8, and it's going to be really ugly because of all these decimal places here. So the equation looks like this for number 8. You're looking for the intersection of y equals 2, that's a line called y equals 2 on a graph. It looks like this. There's y equals 2. The intersection of that line with a parabola defined by this awful, terrible equation. So all those decimal places give us plenty of opportunity to screw up. Because this is negative here, a negative x squared, I believe it'll look something like this, and you're looking for the points that are here. They're not necessarily going to be anywhere near there. I don't know what the parabola is going to look like, but we're going to have to come up with a way of dealing with this mess. The way I would choose to deal with it is to use the quadratic formula. I wouldn't even try factoring that. Actually, I would try factoring it. I could grab my calculator and I could see that if the math people, when they designed this, made these numbers factorable by 0.102, then I'd be in business. But if I decided I'm going to take this entire expression and divide it by negative 0.102, then this would become x squared, and these things would change as well, and I might have some easier numbers to work with. So that would be my first test. So if I take 7.69 and divide it by 0.102, I can test it, but I get this big ugly number, and so obviously factoring or multiplying these to get simpler numbers is just not going to work. One of the things I would like to do, though, to make it easier is I want to get rid of the decimal places, because dealing with decimals just gives me the opportunity to screw up. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to write this with a 2 here in y. So I'm going to say that 2 equals negative 0.102x squared plus 7.69x minus 15.3. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of some of the decimal places, and the way I want to do it is I'm going to multiply the whole thing by 1,000. The reason being, multiplying by 10 would move this decimal place here, multiplying by 100 moves it here, multiplying by 1,000 moves it here. So I'm moving the decimal places of all this stuff over by 3 spaces. And so I get 2,000, that's moving the 2 over 3 spaces, equals negative 102x squared plus, move this over 3 places, 690x minus, and I'll move that over 3 places as well, and I get 15,300. And so now what I've done is I've moved everything over, so I've got whole numbers to work with and I won't get confused by the decimals. So now I know, I'm seeing here right now that I could probably just divide everything by 2. Everything here is divisible by 2. It'll give me slightly simpler numbers. So 1,000 equals negative 51x squared plus half of that, which is 3845x minus half of that, which is 7,650. So those numbers are a little simpler. That's divisible by 5, that's not divisible by 5. The only factors here are really 3 and 17, so it doesn't look like I can simplify this any further. So I'm going to move that 1,000 over to this side, and then I'm going to use my quadratic formula. So remember, I've got the 2 in here for the y, so I can safely move this over to the other side. So 0 equals negative 51x squared plus 3845x minus that, minus the 1,000 here, so minus 8650. And with that, I'm going to have to start using my quadratic formula. And so A is negative 51, B is 3845, and C is negative 8650. And those are big numbers to work with, but as long as I go slowly enough, I should be able to handle it. So negative B, which is 3845, plus or minus root 3845 squared, that's going to be a big number, like 10 million or something, minus 4 times A times C. So that's 4 times negative 51 times negative 8650. That's going to be a big number as well. All that over 2a. A is negative 51, so that's negative 102. So that will give me two answers, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to just deal with this business here before I come up with two equations. So negative 3845 plus or minus, let's move this up again, plus or minus root, well, let's see, I'm going to use the calculator here. 3845 times 3845 equals 14,784,025 minus 4 times A times C. So how many negatives we've got? We've got 3 negatives, so it'll remain minus something. It's going to minus a positive number because 4 times A times C is going to be a positive number. So I'm going to forget about these negative signs here. Just 4 times 51 times 8650. So 4 times 51 times 8650 equals, that's a big number too, 1,764,600. Alright, and that's all going to be over a negative 102. So one more thing to collapse this. I'm going to actually do this subtraction here. So minus 3845 plus or minus the square root of, let's see, 14,784,025 minus 1,764,600 equals that 13,019,425, all divided by negative 102. That's madness. So I've got this number plugged into the calculator. I might as well pull a square root. There it is. It's 3608.244. So this is going to give me the two values for x. And remember, if I have two values for x, I also have to show the value of y. And we know, what we're looking for is we're looking for the intersection where y equals 2. And we know that it'll be these intersections. And the coordinates will be something like this, where y equals 2 and x equals I don't know what. And both of them will be like that. So we'll make sure we phrase the answer that way, otherwise we'll lose a mark or two. So here we have the square root, which is negative 3845 plus 3608.244 all over negative 102. And over here we have negative 3845 minus 3608.244 all over negative 102. So we'll just calculate through the left side here. That stuff, we're adding a negative number, so we might as well just minus it. Minus 3845 equals that. It's a negative number divided by negative 102. We'll just have to remember to switch the signs because my calculator doesn't allow me to do that. So I'll divide it by 102, and we know that that's the inverse. And the answer here is 2.321132. And that's our answer for x. And the answer for y is 2 by definition. On the other side, where we have, well, let's see, so 0 minus 3845 minus, that's how I get a negative number, 3608.244 equals that. So that's on top, and that's going to be divided by minus 102. I can only divide it by 102 once again because I don't have a plus minus inverter button on this cheap calculator I got for free. So that's the top part. If I divide it by 102, and I'll flip the signs afterwards, the answer is 73.071019. And that's x, and y equals 2. So those are the two coordinates, this one and this one. are the two coordinates where the parabola for this ugly, awful, horrendous parabola here intersects y equals 2.